morning and welcome to the Dog Geek podcast. I am getting over some kind of sick. The whole house has been sick. Um, I'm your host, Ashley. And so, excuse me for if I sound a little off. This season has been insane with everybody getting sick. So we were all sick and then we all felt better for a couple days and now we are all feeling sick yet again. So I'm super excited because I did treat myself to a really cool microphone for this podcast. Previously, I did it just using my phone. But I decided to step it up, get the mic, and I already had this set of headphones, which is supposed to be very helpful. And so I've got all this stuff going and really, really excited. I'm excited about a lot of things. And today I just thought maybe I would talk a little bit about myself, um, a little bit about my journey with animals and how I started and where I want to go. And uh, when I was a little girl, I loved dogs, and it was pretty much right from the start to the point it is a little embarrassing, but to the point where when I was a little girl, I would give a bowl of water to our English Springer Spaniel, and then I would put a bowl of water next to hers, and I would drink like a dog out of that bowl of water next to her. I would lay next to her. We would put the blankets over both of us, and I just had a connection with dogs very early on. Looking back now too, I go, oh my gosh, this poor dog was overweight and not well groomed and probably frustrated because she was a Springer Spaniel and she really needed some mental stimulation. And I know at the time that we did not provide her with that. And being one of 4 children, we fed her quite a lot. So the poor thing got pretty hefty. And then at some point we had gotten a beagle and he passed away early. I think he had kidney failure or something. So he only lived to be 3. And I remember when we didn't have any dogs, I didn't want to be home. So a home for me didn't feel right without a dog. And eventually we ended up getting our dog Asia, who was a mixed breed, a mutt. And she was not a designer dog or any kind of fashion anything. She was we don't know what she is, pup, but we got her, and then we had her for a long time. And let's see, we moved. Let's see, I graduated high school, and I decided that whatever I wanted to do with my life, I knew I wanted it to involve dogs or pets of some sort. So I never had any other goal in my life besides to work with animals. So originally, I went to Delaware Valley College in Pennsylvania and was there for animal behavior and training. And I was not a great school person. I'm much better. My best friend and I would say you're either street smart or you're book smart. And that's something I kind of clung to. So I am very much street smart in my opinion. I can't, don't give me a book to read. Don't give me a test to take. It's not going to go well. I don't work that way. I'm very hands-on, and I am much better just going out in the world and exploring and trying and doing and then succeeding that way instead of, sitting down and studying and taking a test and writing essays and those sorts of things. So I wasn't thrilled about going to college, but I was really excited about learning about animals and behavior and training and so on and so forth. Well, what didn't quite occur to me was that first year of college basically was nothing like I thought. So I didn't have any classes on animal behavior or training. Basically, it was taking your core classes. And, I I did a year, but I hated it. I absolutely hated it because again, it was very hard for me. They go very fast, and I struggled and felt, for me, I'm like, I'm not learning what I want to learn. I have a bio class and an English class, like these things I'm not going to be using in my head. So I that summer came home, and I think I had the expectation of going back in the fall. And that summer, I had gotten a job, or I missed a point. So before that, the summer before I went to college, I was working at a place. I believe it was Kaufman Kennels, which now is Best Friends Kennels or something. I worked there over the summer, and the position I had was called the play timer. So basically, my job was this was a boarding facility, and I would go in, get the list of dogs that were there and that needed their outdoor time and play time. So I would go around, I would find the dogs, let them out, play, run, make sure they went to the bathroom, all that, and then put them back in. So that was my first job, and with the dogs, and I was so not uh, I didn't know much about dog breeds and things like that. And I was looking for this one dog and I could not find it. I had the name, I had the breed, I had this stuff, and I couldn't find what kennel this dog was in. And I remember going to some of the other people who worked there, and I said, "Excuse me," I was this like little kid. "Excuse me," I said, "I can't find, I don't know the dog's name. I can't find Jessie." And I said, "She's a bitchin' frizz." And um, everyone laughed, of course, because it's not a bitchin' frizz. It's a Bichon Frise. And I is a little white fluffy dog. And so they all laughed. And now I find it comical that I couldn't even pronounce. I didn't even understand what that was. So anyway, go to college, come back. I went to go back to that place for the summer job. And she said the position that they didn't need anybody at the moment. So I was looking for another job. What am I going to do for the summer? And again, I was not one who wanted to work a register. And I don't mean that, like, I don't mind serving people, talking with people, like interacting with people. That's not the problem. My concern with running a register was the numbers, the math. I get really uncomfortable when people are watching me trying to process math for some reason. Um, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because maybe I count and like talk with my mouth. I'll be like, okay, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 13, like, or I'm using fingers. Like, I don't know what it is. Something about it makes me very nervous and my brain kind of shuts off. So I didn't want to do a register job because of it was just too anxiety provoking for me. So looked around thinking about what I wanted to do, and went into a PetSmart and applied for a bather position in their grooming salon. Um, and I spoke with the manager, and we had an interview, and he hired me. And I remember him saying he hired me mostly because of my good eye contact. So I was personable, looked him in the eyes when we spoke. Uh, even though I had no previous, I mean, I did have some previous experience, but I was very young. So he hired me. So my job there was to take the dogs that only needed a bath, no haircut, give them the bath, a blow dry, brush out, clip the nails, clean the ears, send them on their way. So I was doing that, and I really, really loved what I was doing. And I had a lot of fun, and I enjoyed this process so much that I decided not to go back to college and that I would stick with this. And my thought was, I can always return to college if I want to. So I stuck with that. And then at some point, they had asked if I'd be interested in going to grooming school. And what they did at the time was they would send you to another PetSmart. I believe I had to go to I want to say Delran. I believe it was South Jersey, maybe a 45-minute drive or so. But that you would go to another PetSmart facility, and they offered a training course. So the manager of the grooming salon would train you and a couple other people, and you followed a curriculum, and you like went through a whole process. And I was there for about a month, and then you would go back. I think it was a month, and then you went back to your home store, which was the one I was working at before. You go back there, and you have to shadow work, with your manager, and groom 100 dogs, and take a test, and if you did those things and you passed your test, then you became a groomer. So interesting enough, there is no, excuse me for my sniffles, there is no regulation on dog grooming in the state of New Jersey. So you don't have to be licensed. There's no guidelines or anything like that. So it's good to have kind of a solid background of, like, I took a course, we studied, we took a test, we did X amount of hours, X amount of dogs, and then passed, as opposed to, I'm really interested in grooming, I'm going to pick up a grooming kit and start going door to door and just kind of trying. So there's self-taught grooming, which I'm not saying is bad. There's self-taught groomers. There are groomers who go through, like I'm saying, a PetSmart, and then some who go through other channels, private shops that offer training for groomers. So I do this. I become a groomer, loving it. It's great. Then at some point, I moved to a different store, and I have now become the salon manager. So I was just a groomer. I moved to a different store and became a manager, and that was very, very tough. It it was good. I don't mind the managing of the appointments or the dogs, or working with um, dog owners and making a sketch. None of that I had any problems with. Where it became tough was with the employees, and anyone who is in any position of that, where you are in charge of other people, knows that it's not easy. There's a lot of complaining. There was a lot of disagreements with the choices I was making for the salon, and that part was stressful. The employees that I was working with was the stressful part. Working with people who were having issues with each other, those sorts of things. So I did that for a while, and then I went to another store, transferred me to another store, but I stepped down from management position. It just became, like I said, too stressful, and so I had stepped down. In between this stuff, I had had a child. I had a baby. Somewhere in there, and then I was working at another salon, so I had been in 3 PetSmarts, and then you know uh, I wanted to get out of corporate. So there were things I had disagreed with, pricing and how they did things, which I'm sure, again, in any corporate scenario there will be things that we dislike. So my husband, what we weren't married at the time, but Chris, my husband now, we were dating, and we had decided to open up our own mobile grooming business. So I had transitioned to opening up my own mobile with him. So Chris and I are running our mobile, and it's slowly building. We started from scratch, and we worked our way up. My husband is also a groomer. We actually met at a PetSmart, and so we're doing this with grooming, and I am loving it. I really do love grooming. It's artistic, which I enjoy that part. It's interacting with animals, which again I enjoy. I feel like I understand them. I know that might sound weird. I feel very connected to them, and it's been great. And then, oh gosh, now this is probably going on like 3 years ago, um, I started having issues with my hands. So I was getting tendonitis in both of my hands, and my body is starting to really hurt. My lower back is hurting because of the job. It is very physical and standing a lot, and I'm bending and moving my body in some awkward positions. And I was struggling. So the thought was, I need to adjust how I work because I don't want to stop grooming. I love grooming. So, how do I make this a long game? Right? How can I make this something I can do for a long, long time? And at the rate I was going with the dogs I was grooming, I wouldn't be able to. So, the idea was, oh, okay, I can cut this out because my thing turned, oh, good, it's still recording. So, the idea was that I would start, hold on, I got to mark here. I've got to mark what I'm going to cut out here. So this is at, so there's something right in the beginning and then 6:20ish. All right. So the idea was, how, what dogs can't I work on anymore because they put too much stress on my hands, and then what other career can I go into that will supplement some income, so I'm not working so hard at the grooming and I can do something else. So at the time, through in the midst of all this, I was going through uh, some, let's see, how do I explain this? I was dealing with some trauma from my childhood at the time. So, I started talking more about my trauma when I was a kid, and I was speaking with a therapist, and I was starting to open up about my experience because I do have PTSD from that. So this whole therapeutic journey for me, going back with that, was how to be comfortable with yourself and how to not hide things that had happened to me, because then that's actually hurting me, by keeping things bottled up and built in, and not talking about them was actually harming me, causing me more stress and anxiety and things like that. So anyway, so I thought, what might be a great avenue for me would be yoga. I'm very active. I love to exercise. I love to do things that are very physical. And so I thought, well, yoga might be great. It's physical, but it's also healing, and I think it'd be very good for me, in particular. So I do that, and I go through a training program. I think it was a 6-month course, could be mistaken, but I think it was 6 months. And I had done that and became certified yoga teacher. And I started teaching classes. And that process of becoming a yoga certified was incredibly therapeutic. It probably gave me one of the biggest growths, self growth that I've ever had. Because it was a comfortable environment, and it was talking a lot about being who you are, being honest and not holding on to things and letting go of things, and living, you could say, your best self. And I opened up in that group about my trauma, and I opened up about the difficulties I had had, and I was able to almost shed the weight, if you will. Through that, I had done a podcast with a friend of mine, actually speaking about my trauma. So I told my story on a podcast with someone through that yoga group, which again, very therapeutic. Shared my story, which I think is important. And so I did that, and I was teaching for a while, and then I decided to stop teaching yoga right at the same point where my father had gotten ill, and right before the pandemic. So I took a break from teaching yoga, and then all of a sudden it was just like boom, boom, boom. So my father was ill and had passed, and then COVID hit. So I didn't really get the opportunity to tap back into teaching classes for yoga because everything was closed. And at some point, again, I had gotten, excuse me, in the midst of that, with my father being sick. He was very sick very quickly, and I felt like, I don't know, I needed something to lift my spirits. I needed something maybe to have responsibility over. Now I know I have my children, and we had another dog at the time, but I just needed something to help me through what I was feeling with my father being so sick. So we get my little French bulldog, Penelope, and my father got to meet her a few times, but she was very, very young. And then I started taking training classes with her. And again, this is like right before the pandemic. So I was able to take a training class with her at a training facility. And then I decided from that class that I had um, really uh, fell back in love with animal behavior and training. And it re-sparked kind of that initial fire I had when I wanted to go for college. Initially, that's the avenue I wanted to take, and it re-sparked that. And I spoke with the owner there, and I decided to, and she was wonderful with me and allowing me to um, mentor through her and the facility. And so I started to do that. Now, again, everything immediately shuts down, but they were doing online classes, and I was able to, I was able to watch one-on-one sessions that she had done. And I had done a bunch of, online uh, seminars that there were talking about dog grooming or dog training. And I really did fall back in love with the process and how dogs think and how they learn and the methods of training and why certain ones work and why others don't, what scientific background is available for training as far as what works and what doesn't. So there have been a lot of studies on what dogs respond to better as far as training, and it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me to know, what colors they can see and how they perceive their environment and what drives them and what they find enriching, and um, their history. I find fascinating how they had evolved and um, how far removed they are actually from wolves. And it's all just soaks up my brain, and my brain goes, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about these things. So really dove into the training, which has been fantastic. And I've been training since then. Once everything opened back up, I was able to shadow a couple people at the training facility, which they were wonderful to allow me to do as well, and allowed me to watch and learn from them. I've learned a lot from these people. And then I was off on my own and started teaching my own classes. And I felt very comfortable with branching out on my own and teaching my own classes. And, uh, and it was great. And then I started teaching private sessions. So I was teaching one-on-ones with people. And I studied very hard and so again, dog training, there is no licensing in the state of New Jersey to be a dog trainer. So you don't have to have any license, but it is great if you do have one to show that you've put in the time, the effort, the study, and you have the knowledge to back you up for that. So I was encouraged. I am very glad that I was encouraged to take the test because I was a little resistant about taking it. And I'm glad that I was encouraged to do it. And now that I've done it and I have the certification, I'm very glad I did it. But again, it's that testing thing. It was 200 questions on a computer, and I think I was there for like 3 hours. And I remember, if you remember me saying before, tests are not my strong suit. Studying is not my strong suit. I could sit and to have a discussion with you, and you can ask me the questions and I can answer them to you. But to sit and stare at a screen for 3 hours and take a multiple choice test, was very anxiety provoking for me. Anyway, so took the test. I passed it. I'm now a certified professional dog trainer, which means I have my CPDT attached to my name. And I'm very proud of that. And then the next step for me is I am really, really interested in the animal behavior part. So there are animal or dog behaviorists, and that might be my next avenue. So I started the podcast because I wanted to talk about dogs, and I found that some of the people I was trying to talk with dogs didn't really have the same passion as me. So I would be super excited about something, and the other person's like, Yeah, okay." And and the conversation was over. So this is my way to share information that I want to talk about, and then whomever wants to listen can listen. uh, so I'm excited about the podcast and talking about things. I'm excited for learning more about animal behavior, um, animal history, and kind of diving into that world. I think is going to be really exciting for me, and I really look forward to go moving forward. Um, so that's my journey. That's where I ended up. Now I have dog wise, I have the French bulldog and I have an American bulldog. And I'm really, really happy with them. We're going to do a swimming class this afternoon. It's the winter time. And even though today is supposed to be like 50 degrees, that's not bad. Uh, I wanted something that we can do over the winter time that is enriching to them, but also physical exercise and learning. And we have a pool in the back. So to have them have the ability to swim and be more comfortable around that is really important to me. Because apparently, what I did not know is not, excuse me, not all dogs know how to swim, which I thought was just an innate thing. Like, of course they know how to swim. But apparently they don't. So, which makes sense because dogs don't always have the best awareness of their back legs, which I have discovered in things like teaching the agility classes. A lot of times the bar gets knocked gets knocked down from a jump, and that's with the dog's back legs. So they're not as aware of that as they are of their front. So it makes a little more sense that they wouldn't be aware of how to use their back legs and how to actually move through water. Um, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to talking more about everything dog. I am excited to have some people on the podcast to talk about maybe their journeys or what they do, or how what they do can benefit. Maybe I can have the swim coach that I see today do a podcast, and she can talk all about swimming. And yeah, I'm super excited. So thanks for listening. That's my story. I hope that you enjoyed, and I look forward to talking to you again on the Dog Geek podcast.